Thank you very much. We may be seated. Thank you, Minister. Thank you very much, the Minister of Police, the Honorable Senzo Mkhunu, our Deputy Ministers, Minister Matale, as well as the other ministers, Deputy Ministers that are in the House, our National Commissioner of Police, General Masimola, and Deputy National Commissioners, General, the National Head of the DPCI, Lieutenant General Dr. Lebia, other senior officers, divisional commissioners, provincial commissioners, esteemed guests and colleagues, may I request that we stand for a moment so that we could have a prayer and reflection, please. Dear Lord, we thank you that we could come to your presence this morning as we've come to the end of this, the last day of the summit. We thank you that you have guided our discussions thus far. And I pray that even as we would conclude today, you will give us wisdom that comes only from your realm. And won't you direct us so that we can contribute positively to the lives of our citizens in South Africa. We ask this in your precious name. Amen. Thank you very much. We may be seated. Minister, thank you very much. We've now proceeded to day 3, which is the last theme of the session, which deals with excellence in policing by building a professional and skilled SAPS workforce. And I think this session, Minister and colleagues, comes from the HR conference that was held in the East Rand a month ago, that was directed by the Minister. And there were lots of discussions that flowed from that conference. And we are going to continue in plenary this morning under the leadership of the speaker that I will introduce shortly. But Minister, just to indicate that today we have a plenary session, then we go into commissions for the last time in the summit. And after lunch, we will have our concluding and our way forward in terms of this, the resolutions from our summit. At this moment, I would like to introduce, who is no stranger to us, it's our very own Acting Deputy National Commissioner for Support Services and also the Divisional Commissioner of Human Resource Management, Lieutenant General Lenayo Nkua. She has over 25 years of dedicated service, 20 years at senior management level in the South African Police Service. She is a seasoned HR practitioner who has risen through the ranks of SAPS, leading strategic national initiatives such as the Presidential Project 10,000, the SAPS Education Trust, and the National SAPS Excellence Awards. General Nkua holds multiple academic qualifications, including a BA and a postgraduate diploma in public administration, with advanced training from the Wits Business School. And also she's attended international programs at the FBI Academy and the University of Toronto. Indeed, her commitment to the community upliftment is evident through initiatives like the annual housing projects for families that are affected by crime. She also serves as a trustee of the government employee pension funds and holds membership in several professional bodies. Please won't you help me welcome our visionary leader in policing and HR, Lieutenant General Lenayo Nkua.
Thank you very much, Program Director, Dr. Reddy, for that introduction. And let me take this opportunity to greet all in the wonderful name of my Lord Jesus Christ and Savior. Amen. Greetings to our Honorable Minister, Minister Mkunu, our Deputy Minister Matale, our MEC from Limpopo Province, pardon me, MEC, I didn't write your name down, and also greetings to our National Commissioner General Masemola, the National Head of the DPCI, the two Deputy National Commissioners present, the DGs and the HODs that are in our midst, Provincial Divisional Commissioners, and everybody in attendance. Once again, good morning. Today, session, as the program director has indicated, it is the last day of the Policing Summit. And the theme for today's discussion is Excellence in Policing by Building a Professional and Skilled SAPS Workforce. To begin our discussion, I would like to make the following statement. Effective human resource management is essential in policing to ensure a skilled, diverse, and motivated workforce, which is crucial for maintaining public order and upholding human rights. This involves strategic recruitment, training, performance evaluation, and employee relations, all of which contribute to the overall effectiveness and efficiency of the police service, obviously supported by our social partners, POPCRU and SAPU. To help us kickstart the discussions before we go into commissions, please join me in inviting our panelists to come join me on stage. I'm going to invite them one by one, starting with Brigadier Dr. Mukari from our very own research unit. Can you come on stage, Brigadier Mukari? Brigadier Mukari will be followed by Major General Temba, the component head responsible for employee health and service in the South African Police Service. Next, it will be our guest, Professor Ncaweni, the Director General of National School of Government. I also request our two social partners, starting with the President of our very own union, POPCRU, Mr. Tulani Ngwenya, to also join me on stage, as well as our very own Vice President of SAPU, Ntate Peter Nzime. Can you join me on stage? Can we give them a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? Just a quick overview of what the esteemed panelists will be covering. The first one will be summary of the results of the SAPS Climate Moral Survey conducted by our very own research component. That will be followed by the outcomes of the work session for redefining and repositioning service offerings to the SAPS human capital. The session we held in Beachwood early February. Another topic that will be covered will be building a professional and skilled workforce. That will be done by Professor Ncaweni as we work towards professionalizing the public service as well as the police service. And lastly, we'll hear from our social partners, POPCRU and SAPU, on the role they play in optimizing policing efficiency. I'm going to introduce our first speaker, our very own Brigadier Dr. Mukari from the component research. Brigadier Mukari is an experienced public sector professional. He currently serves as a section head for organizational research at the Department of Police with over 15 years of service in government. He has held key positions across various ministries and has contributed significantly to parliamentary research and policy development. A published scholar and academic supervisor, Brigadier Mukari brings a valuable combination of administrative expertise and research excellence to the public service. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Brigadier Dr. Mukari.
Thanks. Thanks, General Nsia. Nkua. Oh. I think I need, before I start with my presentation, I need to get a round of applause because I might not get it after the presentation. It's on a lighter note. Thank you so much. Let me first acknowledge our own minister, deputy ministers, the National Commissioner. Let me say all protocol observed. I'm not going to take long. Mine is just a straightforward presentation. I've done it before, so I'm going to share with our guest what is actually happening in the organization. I'm a bit shy, but I'm paid to do this, and I'm happy and passionate about doing it. Let me start by saying that I'll be presenting the results of the moral survey from the SAPS. This survey, Minister and colleagues, it emanates from the 2020-2025 strategic let me drink water because yes. We're conducting this study in 3 phases. We work in line with component strategic management. Ours is to ensure that we actually check as to whether we are doing what is right. We're looking after the well-being of our employees. And also just to check, to test waters in terms of whether we're actually moving towards a positive direction. My presentation will only cover 3 aspects. The first one will be the background. Number 2 will be the findings of the survey. Number 3 will be the conclusion. I'm a bit short-sighted. I thought I was going to be able to read it through, but it's fine. I'll manage. Like I said earlier on, that this moral survey is anchored in the 2020-2025 strategic plan of the SAPS. We're conducting it in 3 phases. We've done the 2021, we've presented it, it went to Parliament, it went to the BOC. We also conducted the 2023 that I'll be actually presenting today. In terms of why is it necessary for us as component research to conduct the moral survey, we've noted that there are issues that are actually challenging the organization. Systematic corruption to start with, high absenteeism in the organization. I think General Mtumbeni will agree with me. In Gauteng, 1-day absenteeism, which is a challenge. In terms of resources, other speakers, they've already spoken about it, including the minister spoke about inadequate resources to do policing, to ensure that we implement Section 205 without any hindrances. Limited career growth, which is a challenge, and also low levels of trust. I must say that I think 2 days ago, one of our members were arrested for, I would say, corruption. They were arrested in Soshanguve, and that is actually denting the image of the organization. So, yes, next slide, please. Let me give you a picture of what transpired in 2021 vis-a-vis what is actually happening currently. When we conducted the study, the moral survey, we actually looked into the 4 key areas, which is 1, perception on the extent to which the police live up to the SAPS values. The findings of the 2021 study stood at 21%, which was actually low. But there are other factors that one would actually attest. We conducted the study during COVID. We conducted the study after the unrest, during the unrest, or after the July unrest. So there were other contributing factors that actually could have actually hindered in terms of the response rate. But then in 2023, the number went up to 47%, which is acceptable, but we would have actually wished that it actually goes above 70%. The second one, we're looking into the members' perception on the extent to which SAPS cares about the well-being of its employees. In 2021, it was 22%. In 2023, it was 40%. I must say that we need to appreciate that our National Commissioner, General Masemola, the MOU that we signed with Virgin Active, even myself, my stomach, you can see that I'm getting much better. We must appreciate that we need to utilize that. And also the communique in terms of us having to utilize the Wednesdays, sports days, is actually assisting. On number 3, the perceptions of ethics and integrity, which is a very important aspect. In 2021, it stood at 15%. In 2023, it was 49%. But also, it's favorable, but we would have wanted it to be over 70%, because when you're talking about members who doesn't have integrity in the organization, it means that we're actually working backwards instead of going forward. In terms of corporate government, SAPS governance framework, it stood at 50% in 2021. It regressed with 1% to 49%, of which is a call for concern. If you look into the overall morale in the 2 years, in the two what do you call it? In 2021 and 2023, when we conducted the morale survey, we were not happy as component in research that at that time when we conducted it in 2021, it was at 27%, which was actually a call for concern. We actually improved to 49% in 2023. I must say that in 2026, we're expecting that we'd actually move to at least 70%, so that we actually create that synergy between community members and the organization. That trust level is actually improved. In terms of the morale survey, Minister and National Commissioner, colleagues, we looked into 10 category statements when we are assessing morale in the organization. The first one that we actually look into is job satisfaction. Job satisfaction is important because with job satisfaction, we're asking our members, how satisfied are you with the environment in which you are actually conducting yourself in? I must say that under job satisfaction, there were 4 categories that we looked into. One, under job satisfaction, the score stood at 55.5%. But with 55.5%, we're saying that there's actually a room for improvement. But we need to do more as the organization, because if I'm not satisfied with the job that I'm doing, it means that I'm actually impacting service delivery. We also look at, thank you so much. Thank you. In terms of what's working well, employees felt that they are confident and well informed about their responsibilities, which actually for us, it actually provides a strong foundation for performance. I must say that I forgot to mention that when we conducted the both studies, we had in 2021, 1,552 respondents. In 2023, we had 4,224, of which it actually, in terms of one wanting to draw inferences, you could draw inferences because you're looking at the percentage of the members in the organization vis-a-vis the number of the responses, the confidence level, the margin of error. So we actually use that formula for us to be able to draw inferences. Then going back to job satisfaction, we are saying that what is the data telling us? We are saying job satisfaction index at 40.3% reflect limited opportunities for professional development. We've spoken about career growth in the organization, but I'll come to it at a later stage. Why does job satisfaction matters? We are saying a lack of growth opportunities leaves employees feeling undervalued, and also it negatively impacts morale and performance. This is what we actually found under job satisfaction. I'll go straight to trust levels. I'm not going to read word by word. In terms of trust levels, the overall percentage stood at 65.6%, which is the highest amongst all the moral indicators. But what is it that we actually look in terms of trust levels? There were 5 key areas that we look into trust level. One, impactful performance, colleagues protection, relationship with colleague, you'll see it, motivation from colleagues. But if you check on the bottom one, trust amongst employees stood at 51.9%. It's a call for concern, because if we don't trust each other and yet we are implementing Section 205, then it means that somehow we need to pull our socks up. Thanks. Next slide, please. In terms of the employee-supervisor relationship, it stood at 63.1%. This category stood out as a key moral booster for the SAPS, but let's look into what actually pushed this percentage, 63.1%. One, the strong supervisor relations. We are saying that employees feel valued positively, but remember, I'm talking about those that participated in the survey, the 4,221. We're drawing inferences on that one. We're saying that they felt valued for positive rapport with their supervisors. Number two, we're looking at the trust between supervisors and employees. It stood at 64.8%, meaning that trust is present. Yes, there's trust between employer and supervisor, but there's actually more room for improvement in order to take the organization forward. Let's look at the supervisor feedback, 62.5%. We are saying that while regular feedback is being given, we also need to enhance that there's consistency in terms of communication between the employer and the supervisor, so that we actually improve ourselves in relations to civil claims. I must say that we are dealing with civil claims. If the morale is low, it impacts negatively on the performance of the organization. And it will also affect even service delivery provision. We also look into support for performance improvement. It stood at 60%. We are saying here supervisors are seen as helpful, but there's also an opportunity for more structured and consistent support. Yes, we signed the code of conduct, the code of ethics. We were not forced to join the organization. It was a calling. We are doing this because we need to ensure that our communities they feel safe, they are protected, and also we utilize the resources accordingly. We also look into listening to employee suggestions. We're saying that it's always important to listen to suggestions, because one speaker spoke about policing back then and policing now. Have we ever asked ourselves, do we police according to how community members want to be policed? That's the question for another discussion. And lastly, we're saying, what can be improved? We're saying, let's encourage an open dialogue between supervisors and teams, so as to ensure that service delivery is provided without any hindrances. This one spoke about employee-supervisor relations. I'll go to the next one, the next category, which is employer-employee relations. The question is, what is actually boosting morale? There are 5 key areas that we actually looked at. One, feeling valued. It stood at 72.7%. Under this category, we are saying most employees believe that they contribute meaningfully to the SAPS mission, which fuels motivation and sense of purpose. I know that we've spoken in the past 2 days about our prisons, they are full. It's because we are working to ensure that Section 205 is implemented without any hindrance. 2, we're looking at loyalty to the organization, 63.1%. There's a decent level of loyalty, possibly influenced by career prospects. I'll come to the issue on career growth, but career prospects, yes, we apply for bursaries, we get in bursaries, but somehow, they are not enough. We don't have enough money to cater for everyone. That is actually given. In terms of willingness to recommend SAPS as a best employer of choice, this one is worrisome, is at 55.9% or 56%. Here we are saying, while it is just above average, the score shows moderate confidence in SAPS as an employer, suggesting room for growth so that the reputation of the organization is actually taken into account. So we are worried about it staying at 56%. In terms of areas of concern, I know that the unions will be speaking after me. We found that the issue of union representative, they are saying that dismissive employees felt that their issues and complaints are not being taken serious by union reps. It's not me, it's the findings of the study. In terms of management, it says management ignores union association at 42.9%. This is the lowest score. So it means that we need to do something in order to create that synergy between us and unions. In terms of way forward, we are saying that we need to strengthen the relationship between the SAPS and the unions to ensure that we create a more and consistent channels for employees and management. I'm moving to the other category, which is communications. Under communication, it stood at 55%, but it also appears to hold a neutral view in terms of internal communications. Are we communicating adequately to our members so that they don't commit civil claims? They are not actually being charged for misconduct. Is command and control effective in the organization? Are we actually discharging it without any fear or favor? Let's look at the two areas that are key. We're saying that under policies and procedures, clear policies and procedures, it's at 60.3%. Let me just make an argument. If Station A at a rural area doesn't have access to technology, we're talking about 4IR. If we don't get access to the internet, access to emails, what are commanders doing, station commanders or station management doing in terms of ensuring that our members on the ground, they understand during station lectures, during morning parade, what ought to be done in the organization? In terms of this particular aspect, most members agree that SAPS policies and procedures are explained adequately. However, we are saying we need to actually create more room so that our members do understand what ought to be done. In terms of peer communication, it stood at 56%. Under this particular category, employees felt that there's sufficient communications among colleagues, which is promising for teamwork and coordination. In terms of mixed feeling, perception of fairness in policy communication, it stood at 52.2%. Here we are saying while policies exist, there's a lukewarm confidence, research word, in terms of how fairly are we communicating our policies, meaning that we need to do more in terms of transparency and inclusiveness. Lastly, we are saying in terms of information from management, it stood at 51%. It's just above average. We are saying here it shows that many employees are not getting information that they are needed to perform their duties. It's under communication. Let me move to the next category. Thanks. It's continuing. Apologies. Then we are saying what needs to be done. We are saying we need to move away from the issues of mistrust between staff and management. Members need to understand their roles, procedures, and expectations, and also, by so doing, it will actually boost morale in our working environment. Suggestions from improvements, there are two areas that we actually looked into. We are saying regular briefings and updates from commanders is actually encouraged. Also, we need to ensure that the communication network is accessible from all platforms. Today, we're talking about smartphones, we're talking about the internet. Let's use it effectively so that we communicate accordingly. Thanks. Next slide, please. In terms of career opportunities and advancement, it stood at 37.8%. It's below average. It's a call for concern. but there's room for improvement. We look into 5 areas that would actually assist us in moving the graph upwards. We're saying under level of motivation, employees felt that there's lack of motivation due to unclear goals, insufficient recognition, and inadequate support. It's not me, it's the findings. In terms of provision of technical training for career advancement, many employees, it was quantitative, many employees believe that they are not receiving enough technical training or career growth opportunities. In terms of opportunities for personal growth, there's a perception that the organization doesn't prioritize personal growth or support employees in their development. In terms of the promotion policy, the current promotion policy, members said, I quote, "Our promotion policy is unfair, unclear, difficult to access." Lastly, in terms of managers' role in promoting fairness and in promotions, our respondents said the following. They feel that the promotions are not based on merit or transparency, leading to feeling of exclusion. This is what transpired in terms of that category. The next category was on recognition and rewards. There are 5 key areas again that we looked into. Again, is below average, is at 33 or 34%, which is a call for concern. One, in terms of performance rewards, employees felt that there's lack of adequate recognition for efforts leads to disengagement and reduce motivation. In terms of feeling unappreciated and undervalued or unvalued, it stood at 32%, meaning that a large number of employees felt unappreciated, which as a result affect their morale and also the issue of retention. In terms of overtime benefits, again, insufficient compensation for overtime work cause frustration and burnout. I must say, Minister, that half of us, including myself, in the next 3 years will be gone. The question is, how will we ensure that Section 205 continue to be implemented without any hindrance? We live in the organization. Who are we leaving this organization to? I'll be going on the stoop. It's the language that we are using in the organization. Am I leaving a legacy, a lasting legacy, that even tomorrow I'll be able to go to police station and open a case without even having to feel that I'm not going to be assisted in the police station? That's the question that I'm raising. In terms of the provision of resources and training for career growth, again, it stood at 33.4%. Issues of resources, it's a common known issue. We don't have enough resources to ensure that we implement Section 205. However, with those resources that are at our disposal, we are able to do policing accordingly. But it then calls for ensuring that we actually make sure that we allocate more resources. I'll talk the NDP 2030 is specific in terms of detection and ensuring that we do policing accordingly. In terms of non-monetary recognition by supervisors, 35%, again, is below average. Employees seek more non-monetary recognition, such as praise and acknowledgement. I always get praise and acknowledgement from the National Commissioner. It makes me to wake up with a smile in the morning, and I'm doing that because I'm happy doing my work. Employees are saying, even if I don't get any monetary compensation, but just saying thank you, they want that. In terms of opportunities for growth, again, is below 40%. Employees are saying that we've got limited learning and development opportunities which impact personal and professional growth. Okay, I'm moving to the third one, and I think that I tried doing breathe in, stomach in, chest out, but now it's disappointing me. On this particular aspect on well-being of employees, again, we looked into 5 categories: supervisors, managers' role, members. In 2023, when we conducted the study, I said in my opening, we've got an MOU with Vision Active. we are encouraged to do some sports exercises on Wednesdays. Back then, our respondents or participants, they said that the leadership, our commanders are not seeing prioritizing wellness, but it's been done now. In terms of organizational care, 36%, employees felt that the organization does not care about their well-being. I won't say much because I think we've actually touched on this particular aspect with the Polmed and also GEMS. They've spoken about this. In terms of participation in well-being initiatives, it's at 40%. Low participation rates indicate lack of interest and motivation in wellness programs. We are doing it now. We are active. Thanks to National Commission again for the MOU. Members are now actually actively participating in different sports activities. In terms of the last one, handling of confidential information. Yes, the key one. I am sick, I go report that I am suffering from these particular ailments. The following day, the whole component knows that, that one, the wife is beating him up every day. We are saying we are actually a professional organization. Therefore, it's important, that's what members are saying, it's important that confidential information is actually kept as is. So this is the most important one that they actually raise, to a point that they then decide we rather go to the external service provider than having to utilize our own services. So this one is a call for concern. But we are saying in closing, these factors highlight the need for stronger leadership, better support from supervisors, and increased engagement in well-being programs to improve morale and overall well-being within the organization. In terms of the SAPS corporate governance framework, again, it's at 47%, but there are two areas that we've actually raised under this aspect. One, we are saying, members are saying, inadequate government framework and ineffective government practices are a call for concern. Are we communicating adequately to ensure that our members do understand what ought to be done? I know that currently I've completed my remunerative work and also financial interest. We've done that. It's communicated and we're getting it. But to those that are actually at the fringes, how do we ensure that that information reaches members on the ground? The second one, on non-compliance with government framework and poor adaptation of systems for the organization, it was also raised as a key concern that much as we know, but we don't comply. And if we don't comply, what is the duty of a commander in this particular aspect? We are saying despite these two areas, members are somehow or somewhat optimistic about standard and norms, which places this index at 61.5%, meaning that there's a room for improvement and we can do much in terms of working together. Next, please. In terms of the SAPS values, there are 5 key areas that we looked into. In terms of the overall percentage, it was at 47%. But if you look into the picture, they're actually not far away from 50%. One, commitment to skill development. Members feel that there's insufficient focus on developing skills. That's one. Number 2, on service quality and integrity. There are concerns about the quality of services and integrity within the organization. Cooperation with stakeholders is in business. When we conduct is in business, community members, they will come forward and say, we are not being assisted by these particular police stations. When you go there, they are not assisting us. But I don't remember a police station not assisting community members when they're opening a case of GBV or murder. We are doing that. The queues that we are seeing in our police stations, it's actually certification. Most queues is about certification of documents, which is not actually Section 205, but it's not for me to say. I'm just raising it as a researcher. In terms of responsible use of power, there's a belief that power is not always used responsibly within the organization. We are saying here, we need not to be punitive, but we need to actually assist in terms of ensuring that we safeguard the organization, ensuring that members do what is right and they do what ought to be done in the organization. In terms of adherence to SAPS values, it was at 46%. Members feel that SAPS is not consistently adhering to the core values. We are saying in closing, SAPS view, however, SAPS employees view the organization positively. They are saying, we are not doing this, but we like the organization. They view the organization positively in terms of resource utilization. I spoke about limited resources, but they are saying, with those little resources that we are having, we are optimally utilizing them in the fight of crime. The index stood at 50%. While this score shows some progress, but there's still room for improvement in optimizing resources for effective crime fighting. I thought I was going to speak for another 30 minutes, but now the presentation is dealing with me. In conclusion, Minister, National Commissioner, we are saying we need to evaluate staff morale in the SAPS so that it assists us, because it's important to ensure that effective service delivery and national security is prioritized. Number two, the 2023 SAPS baseline for the morale survey offers one, strategic insight, advocating for multifaceted approach that includes one, leadership training, communication enhancement, safety prioritization, career development, recognition, work-life balance promotion, and fostering inclusivity. We're also saying that if we value the well-being of our members and embrace these strategies that I've alluded to, SAPS can fortify its mission to foster a safer and more secure South Africa. The baseline in conclusion for 2023 stood at 59.5%. We're expecting that in 2026, when we're conducting the last phase of this project, if we move to 70%, we would actually be doing justice to the organization. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Brigadier Mukari. Can we clap for him again? Thank you very much. We appreciate the report, Brigadier Mukari. I think it gives us an opportunity to introspect as an organization to assist us to improve. So I know what you said earlier on, that we might not like your report. Me personally, I like your report, and I'm sure the rest of my colleagues also appreciate the report. It will assist us to improve. Next, our next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, is Major General Temba, the component head responsible for employee health and service. General Temba holds multiple post-matric qualifications, with the highest being a master's degree in psychology. She is a qualified high school teacher with 12 years teaching experience, and prior to joining the South African Police Service, she worked at various NGOs as well as private sectors. Ladies and gentlemen, help me to welcome Major General Temba. She will be sharing with us the outcomes of the work session for redefining and repositioning the service offerings to SAPS Human Resource Capital. Thank you very much. Over to you, General Temba.
Thank you very much, General. A very good morning to Minister Babu Senzo Mkhunu, Deputy Minister, MEC, the National Commissioner, our Deputy National Commissioners, our dignitaries and Lieutenant Generals and colleagues and all attendees, good morning. I will be taking you through the outcomes of the workshop that was held in February. The workshop came about after the presentation that was done to the Minister by the division HRM, where we were introducing ourselves and the services that we are offering to our members. So then we were given a task to hold a workshop that is facilitated by industry experts, professionals, and other people that will, in a way, put a spotlight on the services and see or assess the efficiency and the relevance of the services that we are offering as HRM, and also with a special focus on employee health and wellness. We can move, next slide. So this is just the outline of the presentation, the issues that I will be covering, the objectives of the workshop with the stakeholders, and mainly the resolutions that emanated from that workshop. Next slide. The next one. Okay, I've given just a brief background as to why we had to bring in this national workshop. It was mainly around the concerns that were raised by internal and external stakeholders to just say the programs or the services that are offered by the Human Resource Division, are they meeting the needs of SAPS employees? Are we covering the scope that needs to be covered? We are continuing to offer programs related to suicide, related to all other ways of empowering our employees, but we still see a high number of members presenting with mental health challenges. We still see a high number of members comparatively that are committing suicide, a number of our members that are financially indebted. So we need to have some kind of, take a pause and look at the efficacy of the programs that we are offering. And also the moral survey that was just presented by the speaker indicated that there are few areas where we are found wanting as a division. So we needed also to relook at some of those areas, and also just to check if the people that we are bringing into the organization, are we bringing the right kind of people, the caliber of candidates that are brought through our recruitment processes? Are they fit for purpose? Are these people who are able to enable the organization to deliver on its mandate? So that is mainly the background why we had to have that workshop. So the workshop focused on key following areas, and just beyond the plenary session, which was mainly focusing on the health profile, where our health partners like Paulmet and James, where they presented the health profile of the organization, and also our corporate partners and gyms. Then there were 5 commissions or breakaway sessions that focused firstly on the reviewal of the EHW service delivery model, EHW being Employee Health and Wellness Service Delivery Model, and also the assessment on the programs, focusing on the programs, their relevance and efficiency, and how do we also encourage our members to behave well, because we are seeing a high number of members that are also being involved in corrupt activities and facing disciplinary processes, and how do we enhance the conditions of service and strengthening the entry-level recruitment processes, and also empowering our supervisors for them to be able to take command and control of the organizational performance areas. The stakeholders that participated, like I said earlier on, this workshop, we as EHW or as HR, we're just facilitating issues related to venue and stuff, but the whole workshop was mainly driven by industry experts that are coming from academic institutions, others from the private sector, and also from the civil society, the NGOs that we are working with. They are the ones who were driving because they were like playing a big brother role to us, to say, putting a spotlight, assessing us, and also coming up with recommendations on what is working and what is not working. So this is just highlighting some of the stakeholders that were there, including our unions, the ministry, and also we had participation from DPSA, because the model that we are currently using is a prescription from DPSA, and also the Department of Minerals and monitoring. I nearly said minerals and energies. My apologies, is monitoring and evaluation. They also came through to say they can assist us in the evaluation and the reviewing process that we are embarking in. And we also had our partners from ISS and our health partners, and also one partner that is based in Netherlands, COC Netherlands, the ones that are assisting us in offering the program that is looking at our key and vulnerable populations, being women, children, drug users, and the LGBTQI group. Now, looking at the resolutions that were taken in the workshop, the first commission was focusing on the ESW service delivery model, reporting, and the impact assessment tools that we are using. So the concerns were around the model. The model is prescribed by the DPSA. It's an internally focused model, but a lot of gaps were identified in terms of the capacity, in terms also of are we able to reach everyone, especially members who are in our ports of entries in rural areas. Do we have capacity? Is there a model enabling us to spread into those environments? And also, how do we review this model and customize it to an organization of SAPS size, mandate, and scope? And also, the impact of the activities that we are doing, is this model assisting us in order for us to be able to assess the impact? Because currently, when we are looking at the way we are assessed, it's mainly focusing on the number of people that we are reaching and all that, as opposed to what is the impact? Like if you, maybe just to give an example, where you find if we lose one of our members, a chaplain will be working with the family from the delivery of the death message up to the time when the member is buried. But then when we are accounting, then the chaplain will be indicating just one case. And questions will be, is this person looking at just one case for the whole week? And so the way that the counting rules were also put into light so that we can check how best do we assess our performance in such a way that it demonstrates impact. And also how do we review the ESW organizational structure, because currently we do not have members that are at station level, especially in provinces where you find that most of our members, they go from provincial up to district level. Even some districts do not have ESW functionaries. So in a way, it does compromise the response time to members who are in need of the service. So the resolutions that were taken in, with regard to this ESW service delivery model, it was that this model need to be reviewed. As much as we are complying with the DPSA, we need to explore a different model. So what was done was to look at the different models of service delivery. Some are, because we are currently using an internal focused one, how to use a hybrid model where some of the services will be offered by internally placed ESW functionaries, while some aspects of it are taken to the corporate partners and also to other the health partners. So currently we are in the process of looking at the hybrid model with the participation of EDPSA to say how best can we look at the model that will enable us to reach every employee, but also make sure that the scope that is covered by our internal members or the capacity is also cascaded to a station level where there will be improved response to need for services. Then we also looked at how do we collaborate or strengthen our collaboration with the medical schemes, the health risk manager, especially in the rural areas. And also for those employees who are mobile, that those who are servicing borders and other unit within the ORS environment. Because most of the time it's difficult to find them in their office space, they are out there offering services. How do we come up with those flexible ways of offering the service in such a way that we are able to reach them at their point of need, or whenever there is, if we have to also change our services to shift and also fit in with their schedule, so we had to do that. And we also we expanded the ESW reporting tool to include compulsory annual screenings and also monitoring what we are getting from recruitment. So what we are looking at here is that how best do we enforce impact assessment in such a way that the services that are offered by the schemes, POLMET and GEMS, they are in a way demonstrating impact as opposed to just focusing on numbers. So we need to strengthen that partnership with our service providers. So in terms of the model, it's more around also engaging with our public sector partners like EDPME to say once we are moved to the hybrid model where different role players are taking what is feasible within their space, because we know that we are working with schemes like POLMET and GEMS, but they are regulated by an act and the CMS. So we need also to take cognizance of some of the restrictions that will not allow them to be able to assist in some of the activities that we are looking at. Then moving to the next one, the next commission was also checking on the program relevance and efficiency to say the programs that we are offering, are they now up to date? Because we see a lot is being said about digitizing processes, avoiding face-to-face and moving to a space where we can engage with members using different artificial intelligence initiatives. So the discussions centered around the programs, their accessibility and quality assurance concerns, and also programs being able to, us being able to offer programs to different categories of employees and their families, and the capacity constraints that are being experienced by the component. So the resolutions that came out of that was that looking at the high exposure of SAPS into a traumatic event, the nature of work that we are doing as SAPS continuously exposes our members to a traumatic situation and events. The nature of trauma that we're dealing with is quite complicated and complex. So it cannot be just left to the employees to make it, to decide whether I want to go or not to support services even after this exposure. So the first one was to make these ESW programs mandatory, especially the trauma debriefing one, to say after every employee who is exposed to traumatic incidents, they need to be referred for debriefing. But beyond just waiting for exposure, these members also need, on a quarterly basis, to be seen just to offload. Because we know that trauma is cumulative, and if it's left unattended for an extended period of time, then it becomes very destructive. So even if there's no exposure, even for our members who are sitting in offices, we do get traumatized by commanders, by the community that we serve, by different aspects of life. So we need to make it mandatory. And also, some of the services, we need to digitize them. We revisit the issue of a 24-hour access line where members will be able to get access to services, online face-to-face counseling. And also we are looking at expanding the scope of, we started with the peer educators, where we find some of the employees who are interested in the activities that are being done by the component, but who are not yet qualified. So we need to train them as wellness champions, just broadening the scope from the peer educators that are directly linked to HIV and AIDS and other communicable diseases, but to extend their scope to being wellness champions, where they'll cover issues of GBV, they will cover all other issues that are related, that somehow of pain to our members. So we will train them as force multipliers, and also we reintroduce the issue of initial debriefing, because the success of e-wellness program lies also in a strengthened inter-referral processes. So we rely on managers to be able to see members who are not coping, to identify those symptoms. With this member, there's some kind of change in behavior, there's withdrawal, there's all this aggression and all that, then for them to be able to refer the member to us without really compromising the referral process. So we are re-embarking on training our commanders, and also going beyond that and institutionalizing the issue of e-wellness by putting it as an indicator in the commanders, the station commanders' performance agreement, that the issue, the key aspects of wellness be included in their performance agreements. Because then they need to refer people, they need to allow people to attend programs, especially the Wednesday ones, that now that we are saying we are reviving that as a way of promoting health and wellness, and also to make sure that the correct or targeted employees attend the programs. Then we also are saying we are strengthening our partnership with care providers. We know in the past, James was our activity or interaction was a bit restricted, but now they are full on board. So we need to make sure that that partnership is strengthened, and also their involvement in the hybrid model that I spoke about earlier on. Then in terms of our programs, we've got a number of programs that we are offering, but we are saying we need in an annual or in a particular year to say these are the priority programs that we are looking at. Currently, when we assess the profile that we are getting, the health profile of the organization, mental health is coming out high. So we are saying let's have 2 or 3 programs that will be running with it's us internally, externally, and everyone knowing that for this particular year, our focus is these 2 programs, so that we can be able to assess the impact that we've done at the end of the year. So like for this year, we are prioritizing mental health because it's coming out very high in the profile that is being offered by our health partners. The issue of financial indebtedness, we know that some of our members even get into corrupt activities because they are failing to manage their finances well, or their demands of life are over what they are earning. And we are also prioritizing the issue of physical fitness. We signed the MOU with Virgin Active, and we are also moving, we expanded our scope to include e-zone fitness. Their rates are a bit lower and affordable to our members. So we are saying, let us prioritize certain programs and run with those programs, redirect our resources to those programs, and then at the end of the year, we are able to assess the effectiveness and the impact that has been done by their programs, and that assessment will also be done and assisted by, will be assisted by the Department of Monitoring and Evaluation. And we are also looking at embarking on programs to, like your Biggest Loser program for our members who are, I don't know whether morbidly obese. We do have members where, in some instances, I know when they are wearing uniform, it doesn't look so good. So we are saying we will identify those members in partnership with our health partners, so that those members are put into a program. And that program, they embark on activities and stuff, and at the end of the program, then there will be some assessment of, the before and after, and see as a way of, I don't want to look at some people because I'm already starting to identify some of the candidates, but we will we're looking at embarking on that kind of a program. Minister, thank you very much. Let's move on to the next slide. The next slide is talking about employee behavior and conduct. this is also a sore point for the organization when we are arresting one of our own or when our members are involved in corrupt activities. So we are saying this commission was mainly looking at issues of ethical leadership and training and discipline enforcement, high prevalence of misconduct cases, and also a non-compliance to organizational disciplinary prescripts. And what we're looking at achieving through this commission was improved adherence to disciplinary regulations and also enhanced compliance with ethical conduct and behavioral standards and lifestyle audits and vetting of employees. I think that has come out even a few times in the previous presentations in the past 2 days, and also how do we just enforce discipline in its entirety. So what came out of that was the resolutions was the establishment of the disciplinary units and the reviewal of disciplinary regulations, and also how best do we enhance ethical conduct and behavior and training. So we've seen that already as an organization, we are having most of our members that are participating in the National School of Governance ethical awareness course that is being offered there. And we also do have programs that are being offered as a way of enhancing ethical leadership. The next slide, that is commission number 4, that is looking at the conditions of service, where through that moral survey, it indicated that our members are, the morale is very low. So, and we checked what is it that could possibly be affecting our members negatively, especially their morale, and the focus areas were issues of allowances, promotions and housing benefits. We also, then the issue of capacity within stations where you find that members are overstressed trying to cover, especially if one member can be on sick leave or absent from work for whatever reason, then you find that those that are there are overstressed and stuff, leading them to being disgruntled and unhappy. So through the resolutions that were reached through that was also to conduct to review our allowances. Like an example is given where we find that with the detectives, most members who are within VSPOL are not quite comfortable moving to detective because sometimes then they shift allowance. So we are looking at strengthening the allowances for the detectives, and also the internal promotions, where we currently looked at those members who are occupying the same rank for an extended number of years, to say what is it that the organization can do, because that also do demoralize our members, and also look at the career mobility of non-commissioned officers. Then in terms of ownership, we'd like to encourage our members to own homes. So we got a list of those that are not currently owning houses, and also engaged with banks as to how best can we assist us or come up with a rate, a reduced rate for our members, so that they can also be able to own houses. We know that most of our members we know that most of our members are, maybe some of them are also living in barracks, or whenever they are deployed, then we need also to improve the conditions of living whenever they are deployed. And we are also looking at those members who are working in the ports of entries. We know that some other departments are offering some kind of reduced rate or are assisting them. So we are saying let us also include SAPS members so that they are also encouraged to have their own homes when they retire. Okay, the fifth one, enhancing the entry-level recruitment processes and supervisor accountability. So here we were focusing on our recruitment processes and also supervisor training and the challenges that are experienced in performance management processes within the organization. So we said, let us look at strengthening our recruitment, move from paper-based recruitment processes to those that are digitized. And we also need to review our current psychometric assessment. A lot of noise is always made whenever we start with our psychometric processes to say, are they giving, or where we find people complaining that they failed, even though we know that with the psychometric test, it's not about failing, it's about fitting the profile. Because SAPS management give us a profile to say, for a person to be able to perform work within SAPS, they need to have this kind of personality, these skills, and this kind of attitudes. Then a test is designed according to that. So it is either you are fitting the test, which means that you'll be able to work within SAPS, or you do not fit the test. So it's not an intellectual capability assessment where you are passing or failing. But then we are saying, do we still need this? Is it giving us the kind of quality that we need? Then we need to review that. And also our supervisors, we need to strengthen their training, especially when it comes to performance assessment initiatives. Are they well trained, or we are just doing it as a matter of compliance? And also we just need to upgrade the skills of the supervisors to make sure that they take command and control of the situations, to avoid matters like having an employee who's absent from work for 5 weeks, or in some instances for a month, and the supervisor is just keeping quiet and just accepting doctor's notes without really doing anything or really assisting the employee or the family. Okay, those were the 5 commissions and the resolutions that were taken from them. We are continuing with the team that were, the committees that was formed by our external partners, the industry experts and academics. They are continuing to provide assistance. The meetings are continuing. And the other one, the key one that I didn't touch on was the care for the caregivers, because we realize that internally our members, the ESW members, are also very stressed. They are overstressed. The capacity is quite low. So we need to institutionalize the care for the caregiver program in such a way that they also are receiving some kind of assistance, and also the commanders need to be aware and make sure that they participate in those. As I close, Minister, I would like also to extend a word of gratitude to our partners, that is the schemes, Paul Met and James, and also our unions, SAPU and Pope Crew, and also our external partners, the industry experts that are working with health and wellness, for their continued support, because most of these resolutions came out of the engagement and their assessment of the current processes and system. Ngiyabonga kakhulu.
Can we clap again? Once more. This is HRM, ne? That is why I'm asking for the second and the third clap. Thank you very much, General Temba. What I can indicate to you, Minister, is that a detailed plan is available, and we are monitoring all these resolutions at our HIS meeting on a monthly basis. A lot of work is taking place behind closed doors, and every time when we are required to provide feedback, we'll be able to do that. Thank you very much once again, General Temba. And in introducing the next speaker, I want to open his discussion by saying the following. As the demands on police forces become increasingly complex, fueled by technological advancements and ongoing budget pressures, it is essential that as the police, we must have the right number of personnel with appropriate skills in the right positions. Failure to do so puts at risk our ability to serve the public effectively. And the question is, how do we build a professional and skilled workforce to be able to meet these demands? In helping us to answer this question, please allow me to invite Mr. or Professor Busani Ngaweni, who is the Director General of the National School of Government since March 2020. Before that, he was the Head of Policy and Research Services in the Presidency. He was previously Chief of Staff to President and Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa since 2014. He also served as the Chief of Staff to Deputy Presidents since 2007, having joined the Policy Unit in the Presidency as Senior Policy Analyst since 2005. He was Senior Program Manager and later Director at Umsobomvu Youth Fund. He is a graduate of the University of Durban-Westville, the University of Natal and UNISA. He is a Senior Research Fellow at the University of Johannesburg and visiting adjunct professor at West School of Governance and Suzhou University in China. Let's welcome Professor Ngaweni.
Thank you very much. Good morning to the Honorable Minister, the Deputy Minister, the MEC, and the leadership of the service in Toto. Thanks for inviting me. So I followed some of the proceedings and I looked at the program as well, and I to make a determination whether I'm going to give a lecture or in fact foreground some of the issues that have been raised, and the two generals know elsewhere in our other platform that I tend to give what could look like a lecture, or I could do a disruption. So I thought maybe one should do a disruption of sorts this morning, out of respect for the colleagues and the program. Firstly, just to say, Minister and the leadership, it's very important that an occasion like this be arranged. I say this because I've spent the past 150 days doing interactions with different ministers and MECs, national and province, supporting the GNU to circle. In those conversations, of course, what you read, what is being said outside, you hear people and making commentary and writing stories that if government organizes a session like this one, that government is wasting money. That the money that is used to arrange a conversation like this could have been used to buy a police van and so on. And then you ask them the question of how then do you expect that the leadership of an organization is large and complex, and this one can plan, can understand what the issues are, process them, and allocate the resources. How do you expect them to do so if they are unable to engage and deal with the insights that have been dealt with this morning as well as on several other occasions? And so it is important that we must acknowledge that the leadership of states at various levels must organize forums like these ones to engage. It also sends a good signal to members, even on the ground, knowing full well that when the leadership is meeting, they are not having a party or playing golf, as we sometimes see in another department, but that they are meeting to engage with concrete issues that are faced by members, as has been presented here. So I wish to congratulate the leadership for convening this, because in these other sessions, people think that instead of using money for planning, we can use money to buy a police van, and by buying a police van, you can end crime in my hood. I come from Menanda, so I'm going to try and avoid making a lot of references to it. It's a very emotive subject, but in what I will say, I will have some references to it. So we are leading a department, Minister and the Generals, in a very complex environment. Firstly, the department is large and complex. It's got legacies, it's got its vision, it's got a future ahead. But we are leading this department in a bigger South African context. And that this context has to be factored in planning for how we resource the institution and how we execute the core mandate of the institution. Of course, in this instance, we are talking about building state capacity, and that this has to be done in a particular context, and I'll speak to some of it. The bigger issue here is the second one for you, which is fighting, crime and corruption, but I suppose also, preventing it first. But all of this is happening in an economy that is going through major strain. And to the extent that the economy may be performing in the manner in which it is performing, this will have a direct impact on the ability of the institution to professionalize. Because crime will be rising, as we see in many locations where many people are unemployed. There are many social challenges that people are going through, and as a result, the department will be under pressure. And of course, there is also the international perspective to it. In many cases, some of the challenges that you are dealing with as a consequence of how the economies of the region are performing, and you will feel that directly as the service. Because if the economies of the region are not performing, there will be an influx, and an influx also, goes with some criminal elements as well. And of course, technology have been stated. It's something that needs to be dealt with. There is work we are doing as the NSG. We'll be happy to meet the entire leadership that is responsible for ICT with yourself, and even bring SARS to have this conversation about how we can pursue a digital transformation program for the department. And of course, there's issues of energy security as well as infrastructure development. These are some of the factors that cannot be ignored by anybody who is in the leadership position in the service. And to the extent that we ignore them, we will feel these if these things are not, happening in an upward, in an upward trajectory. And of course, someone has reflected on this fact with a survey that has been done. And here I'm quoting Afrobarometer, where reference is made to issues of trust. Unfortunately, we live in a society where if a single police officer got drunk on uniform, what will become a meta-narrative is that this is who they are. It becomes a definition of the institution, regardless of whether or not that was 1 or 2 or 3% of the whole population in the service. And the same goes, actually, the NPA faces the same, including those who are in the detective service, that if you lose one case, that becomes a meta-narrative of the capacity of the service. Because losing one case, if it catches headline, then trust levels will be low. People will say, well, the detective are unable to do their job properly, or that the NPA is unable to execute its mandate. So it is important that we factor in all of these things, because they also have an impact on the morale, on the morale of members. And it becomes worse if a member thinks we've done a great job preparing a case, and if the matter was not well argued, it reflects on them and it dents their morale. Now here is a bigger issue. I've looked at different cases in different countries. The public service across the world is struggling with the project of professionalizing as a consequence of some of these endemics and pandemics that are ongoing. So in a sense, you are chasing a moving target, in a sense, because of some of these endemics and pandemics. Of course, the bigger one is the crime and corruption. The reality, Minister, is that even with references being made about 1 or 2 members who may be doing wrong things, the reality is they say, Minister, get shorter, get shorter. For public servants, get shorter. In fact, for everyone else. With the type of life that people are living out there. Because we are living in an environment of conspicuous consumption. So get shorter. So much shorter, what do? So I do a spot roadblock and I'm able to collect, a few change from there, and I'm able to augment and supplement. Because the life that is there, that has been characterized on television, on social media, is a life that requires people to live beyond their means. And that is one of the bigger pandemics and one of the bigger threats that the police is facing and any other public institution towards professionalizing. It is not unique, though, I must declare, to the public sector. It is happening in the private sector as well. So you might have read last year a case of a junior official who works at HR at KPMG, who siphons the resources meant for bursaries at KPMG and he uses it to go to Dubai and do those type of things. Because he gets shorter. With his salary, he will not have been able to do so. So for ordinary members, minister gets short. And for them to be able to augment, then they may end up doing these things that we will call unprofessional. And those are the realities that we are facing. And of course, yourself as the police, especially the Hawks, because it gets shorter for us, you also now have to spending too much time chasing public servants who are doing corruption in the state departments as well. When those resources ought to be allocated chasing other criminals out there and not chasing each other, as public servants. But because it gets shorter, because we want to live a particular life, because that's a kind of an endemic situation in our country, you will end up now spending so much resources chasing your own colleagues, people who are on PESAL, when that should not be the case. And of course, we've got the geopolitical situation that in itself put pressure on the work that we do and how do you professionalize, as well as the climate, climate issues, and we all remember what happened during the pandemic. So what does this mean? How then do you professionalize in an environment like these ones? I'm only mentioning these as macro issues that have an impact on what happens when you professionalize. Of course, the colleagues who do the operationalization have dealt with it, differently. And now let me give you an example of what it means. And in this regard, I want to argue that because there is a leadership here, in trying to professionalize the service, we must remember that every small detail matters. We have seen many institutions where investments are being made to professionalize, build capabilities, but igunama details that are not really being attended to. And those details will come back and have an effect on the attempts that the leadership is making. So if we were to use aviation as an example, you will get a sense of what I am talking about. I don't know if it can play, if they can play at the back. So this is, I'm using this as a metaphor.
I've got this one. It's lucky. Yeah, he's got that. Easy, 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 easy. Oh my God! Jilly! Oh my flipping. Oh, he's got this one.
So you can imagine that in the work that we do in the police, every day, these are the type of near misses that we are going through. Whether you are trying to tighten up HR processes, whether you are trying to manage the resources, financial resources of the police, whether you are trying to instill discipline, and at times whether you are trying to diffuse a situation where there is a kind of a protest that may start peaceful and end up becoming violent. The pressure here is on the colleagues who are responsible for managing HRD in the department, that this is the type of diligence that we must build and bring within the service. Because ordinary members are going through this thing every day of their lives. If we do not skill them sufficiently, they will not have the tactical awareness to be able to avoid this near fatal accident. Now in aviation, remember this aeroplane has no rear view mirrors. But the pilot knew where he was. The pilot knew where he was. In some instances, an investigating officer or any other in the service, things may happen with negative consequences because the person did not know where he or she was. And as a consequence of your inability to account for where you are at, you might end up having an accident. So the characteristic there is that those people knew where they were, they understood the detail. In fact, they were only left with 3 seconds, and if the tail of that aircraft had touched the ground, it was going to explode. And these are the situations that members are facing, and public servants in general are facing every day. So when we talk about professionalizing the service, We are talking about building that tactical awareness, the consciousness, as well as the confidence of members to deal with such situations. So they are able to make the correct decision at a correct time. Of course, I suppose those who are in the elite service you will know, because that is how you will be engaging in combat and so on. But the point is that you can build a similar type of capabilities even at a police station level, where you even de-escalate issues before they become a crisis. And of course, because of the type of organization we work in, we must also remember that teamwork matters. There are many organizations, Commissioner Masimul, where you have a large pool of expertise, people who've been trained by the department and elsewhere, but who are working as individuals. So when you talk about professionalizing, we're talking at a level of the individual, but also at the level of the team that works in that particular space. Do you have professional teams of detectives, professional teams of HR, of IT, and all other disciplines within the police? Because we cannot work in an environment where there are islands of excellence. If those islands of excellence are not part of a bigger whole, you will not be able to meet the mandate of the department. And in this example that is following is exactly about that.
How can a small tugboat pull a giant cargo ship that weighs tens of thousands of tons? This is a commonly used tugboat. At the back of the tugboat, there are two propellers that can turn 360 degrees, making the tugboat very easy to steer. When the propellers face backward, the tugboat moves forward. If they turn 180 degrees, the tugboat moves backward. When one propeller turns at a 45-degree angle, the tugboat can move sideways. If you look closely at the propellers, you'll see that they are connected to the engine through 3 shafts by a universal joint. Power is transferred using bevel gears, and there's a special gear at the bottom that connects with the propeller's gear. This setup helps the propellers turn easily in any direction. There's also a nozzle around the propeller that reduces water resistance, making the tugboat more efficient. Tugboats usually work in teams to tow large ships. They have winches at both the front and rear, and their sides are lined with tires to protect against bumping into big ships. The tugboat's hull is built to sink deeper into the water, which helps it grip better and tow large ships more effectively. Inside, the tugboat has many steel frames and heavy equipment that increase its weight and towing power. When towing a ship, the tugboat connects to the container ship with a rope. The tugboat moves slowly towards the ship, and the crew on the ship throws a rope down. The tugboat crew ties this rope to a winch, then slowly pulls it in and loops it around a bollard on the ship. This rope can be very dangerous if it snaps, so it's important to stay out of the marked red zone.
So, this is about the tugboat. So we carry a big burden of crime and corruption in South Africa. As the police and the JCPS in general, you are like tugboats carrying this mega trawler, this weight of dealing with crime in the country. You will recall, as I said, these tugboats that are pulling this ship or helping it to dock, they do not have mirrors. Everything works on the basis of what they see. And in fact, there is only one that can see the other, which is in front. The others don't see each other, the other 4. What matters in this scenario that I'm painting is that teamwork matters, is that coordination matters, is that planning matters. You will not be able to achieve a professional environment until all of those things come together. Because the one who is at the back on the far right does not see what the other 2 on the left are doing. Yet they successfully carry out the mission of pulling out the ship or docking the ship, regardless of the fact, of course, they are communicating through radio, but they are not in a line of sight. At any point in time, only one can see one that is in front of it. So we've got to pursue the idea of building clusters of professional teams in the service, and not just pockets of excellence here and there that are not catalytic, that are not felt by the entire service. And planning does matter, because if we don't plan properly, this is what happens if we don't do proper planning. And we see this, there are cases, we read about them in newspapers, we see them on TV every day, if you can play this. And this is not how a professional police service or any other organ of state should work for that matter. If you can play this selector.
Выровнять не надо чуть-чуть. Кати, не бойся.
We can't execute state tasks like these fellows. And this is what happens. This is what happens in some cases. So you read stories, we read stories of people who were planning a housing project, and it becomes a disaster in the end because there was no proper planning. There was just no proper planning. So the point is, part of the capability we must build as part of a broader professionalization is building the skill and the ability to plan at a police station, at a cluster level, and decentralize that. Fortunately, CFO and CIO, whilst currently there are moves to increase at least the person power within the police after years of disinvestment, there will never be enough police officers. This is my second last slide. There will never be enough. So what is to be done? Minister, we now have an opportunity to drive a very robust digital transformation program in the police. Because in 2010, that is how we did the policing. I took this actually from 2010. This is how surveillance was done in the stadiums and recording. Today, you don't need that. In the 2010 World Cup preparation meetings, the amount of time that colleagues from SAPS who came to the IMC dedicated on dealing with potential disasters of the helicopter flying over FNB Stadium, where there were 10 heads of state, there was just so much time that was spent dealing with that. Today, you don't have to be dealing with the same. This now is a metaphor for the type of professional work we can do just by using technology. It may be cheaper, it may be more agile, and it may be more efficient to do it, as opposed to using Orexes to patrol the borders. You can actually use the drones to do so, and this is more efficient. In the Gauteng Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, they introduced drones for monitoring construction projects. They've got the technology, they cost over below 300,000. They can go into a construction site, do an assessment of how much building material is there, where building level is at. On the basis of it, they make a decision that they will not pay an invoice. How then does it happen, CFOs here? How does it happen that we pay money, 100% of the budget, when we have only delivered 20% of the project? With technology, we can prevent some of it. But I must add, we must not leave members behind. Members at the police station level must not be left behind by the technological advancements that are taking place at the head office level. So we must deal with the issues of building the capabilities of those people to be able to use that technology. Finally, the project that Minister Mkhunu began, which is the professionalization framework, is underway. We are revising it, looking at how we are going to implement it in the service. Already those who are in the civilian secretariat, are bound by the rules, including doing Nukela and ethics and so on. It is very important to look at it even for members who are on uniform as well, and deal specifically with issues of managing their career progression. Because if we don't do that, they may be well-skilled, well-equipped, but if people don't have perceptions that there are possibilities of progressing in the service, they are going to be discouraged and they may not be giving back any type of return. We are doing the same in the municipalities as well. That's why I put it there, because this is a big frontier for professionalizing the system there. Our conclusion is that there are good trends that are emerging. There is a great development taking place in the police service. The younger people who are joining the system are more agile, they can adapt to technology much quicker. However, there is a big concern that if we rush to exit people too quickly on the basis of age, we will lose important expertise, especially in critical areas like detecting, because we are not going to, you will not get those things and build them, as quickly as you can. So in whatever happens with the leadership of the police about how we manage the exit using age as a variable, we must also balance this with the fact that there are people who've got the experience and the expertise who need to play a different role as mentors of those who are entering the system. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor. We appreciate your input, and I believe that we are still going to have more of these engagements as you will be assisting us in professionalizing the South African Police Service. We are left with two last speakers, colleagues, and I'm mindful of the time. We're supposed to have concluded this session by 10 o'clock. It's 30 minutes after 10. And is going to eat into our time of questions and answers, and it might also limit our time of engagement. So I'm going to request the two speakers that will be coming to please stick to 5 minutes. I know we gave you an opportunity day one, President Ngwenya and Vice President Nsime, so I'm going to request that we stick to 5 minutes. The first speaker that will come to talk to us about the role of organized labor in optimizing policing and efficiency is going to be Second Vice President Nsime, who is a leader in the South African policing sector, currently serving as a Second Vice President in SAPS, representing members of the South African Police Service. So please, ladies and gentlemen, I know I'm going to be in trouble, Minister, with my two colleagues. Yeah, but I'm going to be in trouble because I'm limiting their time. President Nsime, please do come on stage. I'll end with you.
I'm not sure the presentation that is there is for Popcro. Not sure whether they have mine ready or is this one that is ready. Program Director, your advice. You come. Let the comrade come. I will follow him. It's not a problem. We are in the same platform.
Thank you, President. It's always the case in a funeral, the program will be long. And when the pastor is supposed to take the podium, they say the hashes are outside. So it means me and my colleague, we are the pastors that must come and just do a prayer for this coffin to move out. Minister, Deputy Minister, the National Commissioner, our fellow panelists, Program Director, thanks for this opportunity that has been given to us to also contribute to this session of today about our role. But let me start by saying, Minister, we thank you that you initiated this after 30 years in the democracy, because we have inherited a department that come from apartheid. A department that says, Diff will agree with me, a technions thank for you. This was a department that worked on an instruction that no any idea can be taken into cognizance without the idea of a senior person, whether it's wrong or it's right. It was an idea of comply and complain later. So what you have introduced here as a summit, that you bring ideas to be put on the table, it shows that you want to lead from the back and let people speak so that you conform to what they are doing. We thank you, Minister, for that. Our 5 minutes, we'll try to be within 5 minutes. But as trade unionist, it's very difficult to be within 5 minutes, but we'll adhere to the instruction as given by the program director. That's why today the HR herself came to the podium so that he will manage us correctly. We'll talk about our introduction goes to our contribution, shaping the policy, professionalization of police service, accountability and ethical policing, and our stand against militarization of the police and fair labor practices. Minister, we don't want to open this summit as a bargaining forum. But somehow, somewhere, there are things that you must understand and know that we agreed upon with the national commissioners in line with the Labor Relations Act. Your vision can be good, your mission and your strategy, but there is that part that also must be brought to your attention, whereby we need to be engaged as labor, because it is much important that we put our view for our members, because the contestation here is about our members. The Police Act talks about members, our constitution talks about members. In South Africa, the conversation around policing is complex, as the Prof have said. We're facing a multitude of challenges, from rising crime rates, issues of corruption, and public distrust. As a union that represents the interest of the police, traffic, prison officials, we have long recognized that the well-being of our officers directly tied to the quality of service it must happen, it must be improved. Our contribution will talk to, firstly, as labor, we want to ensure fair treatment and support of police officials. We want a motivated workforce. And we are not here try to co-manage with SAPS, but we are here to be an eye and people that will assist management, not to be seen as people who want to take over their responsibility. We are here to negotiate better conditions of service. We are here to create an environment which officers feel valued and supported. I think most of the speakers have said that our officers are not valued. Minister, we're building a house here. Any house that has a proper foundation, it becomes strong. But if the roof is leaking, that house have a problem. You can bring all the experts that they try to correct the roof. If you don't get the right people on top, we are going to have a problem. So here we're facing with a roof that must be corrected. Our members risk their life every day to protect and serve. And in return, they deserve a fair compensation and a proper resource in the professional respect they have earned. This commitment to the well-being of our officers lead to the higher morale, greater job satisfaction, and ultimately an improved police service. Minister, when I joined the police 2 years ago, I was told there was this book called SAP 10, which is an occurrence register. Then this occurrence register, a shift when it comes in, it will record all the activities per hour, what they are doing. When the shift is about to go off, there is a part where it said handing over. That the person who was in charge on that shift must make sure that he writes everything on that occurrence book. That how many prisoners were there and what did we do, and he signed off. And the next person who's gonna come in and take over the shift must sign off to say, as I'm taking over this shift, this is what I've received from my colleague and I'm taking over going forward. But in the police, I don't think that at the top echelon there is this thing called handing over. Because any other manager who come to a department must get a handing over and sign it over to say, here is the handing over. When I took over in 2023 as a president of POPCRO, then Dr. Zizamele Cebekulu came to me and gave me a handing over of the organization to say, this is the state of the organization that I'm handing over to you. These are the members, this is what is there. Then I sign over. I take full responsibility of it. But in the police, everyone, when he comes in, he wants to come with his own new style, which is a problem. That everyone wants to come and introduce something new. There's no continuity in relation to. Then it finds ourselves as labor to be at the confrontational phase with the new person, because we engage with your predecessor. Then the new person, when he comes in, he said, I don't know anything. Where is the handing over? So shaping the police, POPCRO will play a role and an active role in policy development. Can this department start to develop policies which are short-term, mid-term, and a long-term, so that in the 5 years, we'll be able to assess in the middle of the year to say, how far have we gone in terms of our implementation in relation to the strategy? Because the strategy is a broader framework, but the implementation must be driven by the policy. That's what we are calling for. We're not merely defenders of workers' rights, but also strategic partners in policy development. Utilize us. We are more than willing to share ideas, because it's difficult when you ride on a horse. You don't understand what is happening on the ground. Managers are up there, members are on the ground. We are on the ground. We can share the challenges that the members are having as their mouthpiece to the members, to the managers, to say, what about this? It's not about we are imposing, but we want to safeguard and protect the image of the department. It is true that this partnership, that we influence the key decision on resource allocation, training program, staffing level, and many more. Some of the things that I said here today are surprising, Minister. Because we need to be honest. Buying faces is not going to help us. We need to be honest that SAPS is not about theory, but it's about practical. And the practical part of it, it needs people to sit around the table. All of us, we move to the same direction because we are one organization that is principled in relation to a decision that is making. Whether the decision is good or bad, we stand by that decision. We don't change. For an example, like the expeditious process. We signed the expeditious process. Our members gutted us, but we stand by it because our understanding at that time was to address the issue of delays of cases. But in the way it was implemented, it turned around and became an egg to our face. But we stand to that decision. So that's what kind of people we are as an organization. We advocate for comprehensive training, merit-based promotion. Whatever have been presented by the stats of a doctor, we want to go and sit down and do proper analysis to say, how do we then take the stats of a doctor forward in ensuring that we professionalize, we achieve your vision, Minister, of what you want to do. The issue of promotion, I don't want to talk about it because it's got eyes and ears. It demoralized the department. I will say in this summit because it must be heard that promotion can't have eyes. Promotion must have quality and quantity. But if you are like myself, you are vocal, you can challenge, forget about promotion in SAPS. You must be a person who say, yes, I agree. And it won't take the department because if, Minister, I can't challenge you and tell you what are your problems and your challenges, you'll never be a good minister. I must tell you so that you'll be able to change. We're pushing for higher standard to ensure that police service remains skilled, adaptable, and responsive to the demand of the modern policing. A professional police service is one that earns the trust of its communities, and organized labor help to foster and ensure training, ethics, and accountability at the forefront of the policing. So we want to be part of everything that SAPS want to do, so that we'll advise, so that we'll be able to take the department forward. Because it's not by favor that we're here. And by the way, we're not recognized by the democratic government. We forced ourselves in 1993 to be recognized by the South African Police Service. When Fiverr said there will be no police union in the police, 36 years later, we're still standing here, very firm, be principled, because we knew what democracy was coming for. So it's not about people, they think that it's a favor that we are here. It's not about favor. We earn our right to be here as a union, and we need to be respected as we're supposed to be. Accountability and ethical policing. As Pope Crew, we're not afraid to speak out when there are issues of corruption and abuse in the service. And we cannot put a blanket and pretend as if we don't see. We need to uproot corruption and deal decisively with those people who are bringing the organization into disrepute. We stand firm on our belief that every officer must be held with the highest ethical standard. This includes advocating for transparency on disciplinary process. Let's stop paging people because we fear them, that they are more better than us. Paging will not help this department. The professor said we must try and address the issue of exit. People must not wish to leave this department because the experience that they've acquired after so many years, you cannot buy it anywhere. And to make a detective, Babu Sbia, it does not take 2 weeks that you'll get 15,000 people and become detective. It needs a skill. How do you deal with a docket? How do you investigate? How do you do all those things? So we will find ourselves having weak detectives because we want to get rid of all the people that can investigate, and we don't appreciate the old detectives that are there who can bring information and upgrade the new kids. We were nurtured ourselves to be where we are today. When we enter the police, we were nurtured by the elders. But how come now that you want just these young people to come and work in the police without being nurtured by the elders who were there? We must have that transition nicely. We are willing to go. Not we are at the age of living. But we need to impart the skill and the knowledge that we have to the young ones so that this department, when we are sitting in the stoop, as we always said, we are able to point back to say, my contribution has made this department to be what it is today. Not to destroy this department. We love it so much. POPRU stand firm against militarization. We believe that over-militarization of the police force is counterproductive. I have said, the pastor must reduce the spread. Okay. I have said, can we listen to the members who are on the ground? Yes, we are managers. Yes, we are leaders, we are presidents. Can we listen to the view of the member? What does the member say? And how do I put it in to make sure that it works? Militarization of police alienates the very same community that we seek to protect. It undermines the public trust and law enforcement. Our stand is clear. We must move away from militarization approach and embrace community-oriented policing that is focusing on collaboration and dialogue, as we have done, Minister. We really appreciate. On labor practice and collective bargaining, Minister, you have your strategic meetings that you must sit. The National Commissioner have its management, but at the bottom, there is this center that is called collective bargaining, where management must not tell you what you want to hear, must tell you exactly what is happening. I said, Minister, when you came in, if there are things that you want, management don't want it, they will say labor don't want it. If there are things that they want, they will come to us and say the minister wants this. So, be careful, Macingwan. Let's have an engagement and agree. When it goes down, it's a straitjacket that those must implement. So let's have that forum of engagement and the National Commissioner. Once we seal it, we understand nobody can stand on the way. We call it in politics democratic centralism. So let us try and implement that, because we don't want to fight with you. We don't want to fight with the National Commissioner. When people suits them, it says the minister wants this. When you want that, they said Labour don't want it. I know that you've got so many things that you were told that we are against them, of some of them that we don't even know. So we are putting that under collective bargaining. Collective bargaining have rules of engagement, of which the employer is a signatory to it. They know that once it's agreed at the BOC level, and the minister have said, they must come to the council and sit. We call SSPC, which is the Safety and Security Coordinating Bargaining Council, where we need to agree and fine-tune the details so that it becomes an agreement. As I conclude my 2 minutes, the role of organized labor is to optimize policing efficiency and overstated. We are committed to work together with the government of the day, police leadership and communities. But lastly, I'm asking Minister, I said I don't want to negotiate, I'm asking, can you separate the support and operations? Our public servants are blocked by an apartheid system at level 7. But we've got Department of Public Service and Administration, which goes up to the DDG. Can we unlock that process? This summit must give us a direction to unlock that process. That Public Service Act must be able to move up to level 12 or level 13 because they qualify. Why are they at level 7? It's because you take the policeman, he close a position, he take the same level 5 to come and teach him the work that he's supposed to do. When this kid can he do that? That is the call that Pope Crew is making today to this summit, that we can make life better. Thank you very much.
President. Thank you very much, President. Let me now invite Vice President of SAPU. Your brother took 2.5 minutes, so I'm giving you 2.5. You can come, Mr. Nsime. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the Vice President of SAPU.
How do I move this thing? Here, yeah. The pressure is on me now. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I observe protocol. Maybe let me start by a controversial matter. Marikana issue. That we all know that police killed minors in Marikana. It's like that, we have accepted it. Public says police have killed minors in Marikana. There is a Falam Commission report, there is a panel of expert report. But the question that was never asked, what happened before that? If you look into the panel of expert report, they will tell you that it started as a wage dispute that resolved, that ended up with the strike outside the bargaining council. A political will to deal with a conflict or a dispute. And today, we're talking Marikana. And I stand here today to engage with all of us about the power that is within the bargaining council, the power of union, labor organization, whether we can use them negatively or positively. And we stand here as South African Policing Union to say, use us positively. I'm told that I've got 2.5 minutes. I'll try to be within 2.5 minutes. Thank you very much. If you look at the unions, traditional unions' work is to represent members' grievance, to bargain for them. And that is what we do on a daily basis, union. But there is an issue of collective bargaining council. When you talk collective bargaining, we're saying as the union, we have to assist the employer in what he wants to achieve. We sit down, we look at the employees. Our argument is that unions are never at loggerheads with employer. Employees are at loggerheads with managers. We come to resolve dispute as labor organization. That is our position. We don't want to be viewed as the one who are at loggerhead with management. And that is why we have what you call collective bargaining. You also have improving the working conditions. Our job as union is to make sure that the working condition of members are improved. That is the most important thing. But how do we then say working condition of employees are improved when we have issues where our members are still being killed in the country? They're still being attacked. Because these are working conditions. How do we deal with an issue where at the police station 2 members are posted for a night? No vehicles, 2 members have to police with 1 vehicle, the whole area. That is our working conditions. If the vehicles are okay, can they drive those vehicles? And that's why we exist to say, how then do we address why we are here today for the past 3 days to deal with efficiency? But then everyone, for the past 2 days, we've been talking about artificial intelligence, drones, all these new machines. We come here and say, over and above this, there is human capital. And where is human capital there? Because these drones, somebody must operate them. You need to train these members. So as much as we talk about the good thing that these machines can do, you still have human capital, members who have to deal with these issues. And this is what you're talking about, training and development. how then do we develop these members? How then do we make them be able to deal or to operate these machines that they are going to use to deal with the issue of efficiency in the police? And we are clear that we are resolving dispute. That is what we do. Monitoring and evaluation and enforcement. Our job, for example, basic condition of employment act is very clear. It is not us, it's the law. The law says when members are working, say, provide transport. That is not us, that's what the law says. But when you still have members who are not being provided with transport and are working shift, how then do we look into the issue? And if you look into our next slide, we talk about our priorities, the police killing that I just spoke about. These members, we can argue that they were off duty. We, as the union, say these members, they were killed because they are police officers, they were killed because of the work that they are doing, they were killed because the trade of tools that they are using their firearms, and sometimes they were just being killed because in this country you can just kill a police officer, nothing can be done. So even as much as we classify them as on and off duty, most of our members who have been killed, we're saying they are killed because of the duties that they are performing. The high levels of corruption. This organization, SAPS, we had in Congress 2 years ago. A resolution that was taken in the Congress of Labor Organization was revolution against drugs, gender-based violence, and corruption within the society. Start with us, the working class. It is the resolution of our Congress. But our job is to represent members. And when we represent members, we are viewed as if we are condoning corruption. While we are not condoning corruption, because we are the one that says we need to root out corruption. Poor working condition, I've just spoken about it. When you look into how do we deal with the elephant in the room, we need to discuss and look at these issues as matters that we have to address, so that when you deal with everything to achieve the efficiency in the police, we then deal with the issues of human capital, efficiency and productivity. Maybe we can pause 10 seconds and read this statement, that living standards are increased when productivity in the workplace is increased. No productivity or efficiency can be achieved unless there is a decent working condition. But what is a decent working condition? When I have to go back to a police constable who have been in the service for 14 years, but at the 7 years service in the police, he was eligible for promotion. Today, as we speak, they are 14 years in the service, they still cannot progress. How do we get the right members of the police when the stipend of the police officer is 4,500 rands? And we're saying we need the right people to be here when the stipend is 4,500 rands. So these are some of the challenges that we have to face. That what do you do to that member that you say live on 4,500 rands? We give the solution, promotion system, incentive system, the recognition system. Let's deal with that, because we understand, Minister, the issue of funds and finances. But at least let's look into other systems to make sure that we cover these members of the police so that we can deal with the issue of efficiency. Challenges in the workplace, the reluctance of the implementation of collective bargaining council. Now, if there is a delay in the implementation of this, and a very simple example is that overtime is a law. We sign an agreement that members who work overtime, they must be remunerated for working overtime, or members must agree for a due time. But if members are forced to work overtime, and some of these members are taken through a disciplinary process for working overtime without remuneration, it tells you that this collective bargaining agreements are not being recognized by an employer. And that is some of the challenges that we are looking at. The reluctance of collective law bargaining council. Minister, at the level of national level, we engage, we sign agreements. But we are saying, let this be scaled down to members on the ground. If there is a police station and a station commander have an issue with regard to crime. If you deal with those issues and call labor and say, I need, for example, eco shift, you don't need to call national. You just need to call labor at that level, at a lower bargaining council to say, because I need to police this area, let us have the eco shift. Let us have these members, have a mandate from the members, come back and say, let's deal with the members that can go and work on the eco shift. My last two slides is on the issue of bona fide collective bargaining. We are just requesting that when we engage with management, at least let's be honest to each other. Let's face the truth. Let's face the realities. Because we are saying as the organization, it is not what you do, but how do you do it that gets result. So we understand the challenges faced by SAPS or employer, but we are saying let's first improve the working condition of members. Because no negative workforce can produce positive result. That one is given. A collaborative, we need to participate, all of us, in a platform like this with the employer and say, let's engage and deal with the issues. How then do we assist in effective bargaining processes? And as I conclude, our argument is that we are expecting this field. We are expecting dispute resolution. We urge employer to use us. To use us. We are here. Use us to engage with members. Use us to persuade them. Because we can mobilize. They trust us. They believe in us. And if we say this is the route, these members will take that route. But if it's come as an instruction to them, and they come to us, it becomes a problem because we look into the law. Very simple example. Members, our argument is that in every van, bike, there must be this WC2 form, so that when members get injured, this form can be completed for injury on duty. We don't see them. But we are saying, use us to explain to members, to make them understand that this is what we can do. Our closing argument, Minister, I can see that May is here. Our role as organized labor, is to make sure that we work together, there is collaboration, is to make sure that for SAPS management to achieve what they want to achieve, they need to take us along. They need to be with us, and we sit around the table, engage with them, convince the members, we organize these members, we make sure that we mobilize them for SAPS to achieve the goal. I hope I did not take much. Very difficult, but thank you very much. Ke a leboha.
Thank you very much, Ntate Nsime. And ladies and gentlemen, let's thank our panelists. And I'm going to hand back the ropes to the program director, Brigadier, ready so that he can direct us. We are not going to take questions. Questions will be taken in the commissions because we are way behind time. Thank you very much, panelists. Thank you.
Minister, that was the heavyweight category. So we had to put a Deputy National Commissioner to deal with that. So let's thank General Nkua. Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you. Minister, we've done with the plenary. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to invite quickly the commission leaders that are going to be assisting us with the last session. May I request the first breakaway group, Major General Gosman, to please come and stand up front here. Breakaway Group 2, Brigadier Dr. Swartz. Breakaway Group 3, Brigadier Matlala from HRM. Breakaway Group 4, Brigadier Dr. Retief from Research. And Breakaway Group 5, Brigadier Mokwena from Internal Audit. Minister, I think whenever we talk about human resource, it's quite an emotive topic. And we want to encourage the commissions as they go into the breakaway groups that we do not necessarily reflect extensively on issues that have been covered in the HR workshop, but that we look at maybe that when we get into our commissions, there will be presenters that will give us brief overviews of what has taken place in that specific area, so that you can make more meaningful contribution when we come back into the plenary to give you feedback. And I think what's important is I think you have a very difficult task today, because the group leaders are still expected to give the feedback through to the central committee that's capturing the deliberations of the conference, which we need to present back in plenary when we come back after 2 o'clock. So I would really appreciate if we could move as efficiently as possible. Minister, the first group is going to be dealing with skills and attributes for modern policing. So those of us that are going to be joining that group, is General Gosman, and he will be leading us back into his commission. You'll see that there are notifications outside the commissions. I think you know where the rooms are for now, by now at least. Work group 2 will be dealing with recruiting the right police officials for the South African Police Service. That's group number 2, Brigadier Schwartz. Group number 3, psychological factors affecting SAPS members that deal with high levels of violent crimes. That's commission number 3, Brigadier Matlala. Commission 4 will be pathways to success, career development and growth. That's Brigadier Retief. It'll be at the breakaway room outside this venue. And then number 5 is leading with integrity and strengthening leadership. Brigadier Mokwena. Now the group, we've seen a huge uptake in group 5, so we've decided to have group 5 in this auditorium, okay? So group 5 will remain here. Minister, it's now 11 o'clock. We're now going to break into our commissions, but what's important is you can grab your tea and cookies outside, go to the commissions, and we need to be at the lunch area at 1 o'clock. So we've got 2 hours, and I think it's sufficient time. Minister has directed that at 2 o'clock we must be here promptly so that we can address the plenary in our closing ceremony. Thank you very much. Let's please allow the minister and the deputy ministers, the MECs, and our executives to please leave the auditorium first. Hello? Can we just have your attention, please? Can we just settle down? Let's allow our minister and his entourage to leave, please. Thank you very much. We may proceed.
Uniform to a member of South African Police Service means be ready for
officers present, other dignitaries present, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. So I'm going to provide a short feedback session. And I think you will appreciate the fact that we can't present everything, so I'm going to reflect on the recommendations made, and obviously there's a lot more that provides the context for it, but for the purpose now to give feedback is just to give an indication of what was said and deliberated on in the sessions. So we go to the first theme. There were 4 themes: police presence versus visibility. We looked at theme 1, and that is policing approaches that work. The first thing there that we looked at was that we had a presentation about hotspots policing, but we also had a presentation on evidence-based policing. And as we presented, we realized that what was presented does not replace anything in the police service. It's something that supplements. Hotspots policing is like a method, and it supplements sector policing that we have in the police service. Many or several delegates indicated that we were doing that all along. But the reality is that we need to make sure that we implement the crime combating strategy and the crime prevention strategy, because that is the basis for us in terms of visibility, where police officers in uniform attend to complaints in sector policing, and where crime prevention officers are attending to root causes of crime, having different methodologies of addressing the crime roadblocks, hotspots policing, so many different methods for that. But that can only be successful if we start thinking about the upscaling of the police stations. In other words, we need to have the capacity to make sure that crime prevention can work, that visible policing, attending to complaints, and the response times can be better. We need to have the capacity in terms of people and also in terms of the resources. Although hotspot policing is not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily require more resources, but it requires a lot more input from different role players. And what we found was in the discussion that it cannot be that it's just the visible policing members. It has to also include detectives, because there are practices that the detectives have that makes them successful in their investigations that can be used as examples for evidence-based policing. In other words, those best practices can be used somewhere else, and we can learn from that and apply it somewhere else. There was also a question about the measurement of police performance. Now that was a bit of a concern, as if crime that happens results as a result of or a product of policing. Crime is not a product of policing unless a police officer did something wrong. Crime happens.
Thank you so much. You may be seated. Thank you so much. At this moment, please help me welcome the National Commissioner of the South African Police Service, General Masimola, to present his final remarks.
Thank you, Dr. Reddy, the Program Director, the Minister of Police, Mr. Senzo Mkhulu, the Deputy Minister, Mr. Castle Matale, and Ms. Polibushielo in absentia, MECs present, all Directors Generals present, the Deputy National Commissioners, National Head of DPCI, Divisional and Provincial Commissioners, Commissioners of Metro Police and all other agencies, the Chairperson of Business Against Crime South Africa, Dr. Wright, Ms. Lucas, the Chairperson of National Police Consultative Forum, esteemed delegates from the academia, research and civil society, all senior officers, ladies and gentlemen, and the media, good afternoon. We have now reached the conclusion of what has been an important and a highly constructive National Police Summit over the past 3 days. We have engaged in vital reflection and an exercise that both timely and necessary as we recalibrate and reposition South African Police Service for the future we collectively envision. The summit has provided a focused platform to deliberate on matters of strategic and operational significance within South African Police Service and the policing in general. The nature of our discussion has been grounded in a clear commitment to identify and close existing gaps while striving to enhance our organizational efficiency, responsiveness, effectiveness, and delivering on our mandate. We have been greatly encouraged by the active and robust participation by all of you, of course, including our minister and deputy ministers during commissions, by providing wisdom and invaluable insight. Further, the level of engagement across all sections by all participating delegates were robust and solution-orientated during the discussions. We welcome your input in terms of proposals and solutions, but we are not one of those that will always sit out there and point fingers without coming with solutions. Equally, in the plenary, presentations were enriching our discourse, offering insight drawn from the deep reservoirs of knowledge held by researchers, academics, business leaders, community members, and experts. Their contribution have further equipped us to approach policing with great innovation and accountability. As we draw this gathering to a close, we do so with renewed focus, aligned attention, and a strengthened resolve to transform the SAPS into a modern, professional, and community-orientated institution. The path forward is clear, and it is one that we must walk together to make sure that we protect the people of this country. We have got only this country, me and you. We have nowhere else to go or to run to. So hence we must make sure that we protect the current youth, because they will be the future generation, they will be the future leaders. If we don't now, we should not regret when we are looking at what is left behind of our future nation. Esteemed delegates, I extend my heartfelt gratitude for your invaluable contributions, which have been instrumental in the success of the Policing Summit 2025, which is first of its nature. While we are sitting here, policing goes on as usual out there, fighting criminals and protecting the inhabitants. From the day we started here to now, there has been quite a number of challenges out there, crime being committed, confrontation with criminals in a number of areas, In KwaZulu-Natal, there was confrontation with criminals where we came out at least as number one. Late yesterday in Soshanguve, around Soutbans Road, those that know Soutbans Road, Stowe School, there was also a cash in transit heist where over 20 suspects challenged and bombed a fertility vehicle. And worst part, they bombed this vehicle inside a church premises. Just show you they don't have any respect for anybody, including a church for that matter. But little did they know that police intelligence was quite up and police were around the area where they were doing this. A shootout ensued. 3 of the suspects were fatally wounded. 11 were arrested. 4 were injured. One, got into some house. He slept there overnight with a broken leg, but he couldn't carry on because he realized blood is going. And because last night he told the community that they mustn't tell anybody, otherwise he will harm them. So this morning when police, they were looking in that area because they knew some are around, he was the first one to scream to say, "I'm here, don't shoot." And he confessed to say he just need to get to hospital because he realized his life was hanging on a thread. And additionally, there were 2 that were arrested on the N4. It's unfortunate that 2 members of TRT were injured in the process, but injured on the lower body. So they are out of danger. They are hospitalized, but yeah, they are out of danger. What has been presented, we are going to, I think Minister will give a way forward, but little that I can say is we are going to break them down into immediate, medium, and long-term implementation. But we would love that we implement everything, be it on the immediate and the medium, not really long-term. Now let me take the honor of handing over to the Honorable Minister of Police, Mr. Senzo Mkhunu, to provide the closing remarks. Thanks very much. I welcome you, Minister.
Thank you very much. Thank you. May I confirm all the protocols that have guided us throughout in the interest of time. But let me single out my appreciations to Dr. Wright. I was telling him that from Business Against Crime, I was telling him that I kept on checking whether he's still here. And to my disappointment, he was just stuck here, and he's still here. Thank you very much to you. May I also single out the Metro Police Chiefs who are here. It's quite a delight to us, Ministry and SAPS, to see you working with us, and how we wish you could go out there and emulate this in the trenches together with us until we overcome the problem of criminals. Then you can go to your metros as you wish. Thank you very much for being here. As National Commissioner, General Masimula observes, we've been here for quite a long time. And thank you for those of you who found it possible to remain until now. We really appreciate that kind of discipline and holding back until now. The summit that we're ending today was conceptualized not as a once-off kind of an event, and not for the Minister of Police and the Deputy Ministers, not for the National Commissioner, but it was conceptualized as a summit that South Africa needs outside of all of us. And that we believe is required as a standard practice to a point where, via a submission that I'm requesting the National Commissioner to prepare and submit to Cabinet, I would request that Cabinet endorses this for every 5 years. Now, the reason for this, we will motivate, but one main reason is that the South African people are not going anywhere, and police are not going anywhere. We are permanent, and policing is therefore not a temporal or a stop and go. It has to be ongoing, but it has to improve now and then, and therefore we must plan, we must have it as a deliberate practice that every 5 years there would be such a summit. The design itself for the summit accommodated 3 broad elements in the main, which were then meshed into one theme, as has been outlined. First element catered for the nature of the current levels of crime and trends and how we're dealing with it in terms of effectiveness and efficiencies of our practices, of our measures, our interventions, all of it. So we came here knowing that there are these levels of crime, these types of crime, and where they are more dominant and all of that. We came here knowing very well what we are doing to combat crime and all of that. And we knew what people are saying about their assessment in terms of effectiveness and in terms of efficiency. And we came here to assess those and talk about those throughout the 3 days. So that was the first element. The second element was then to say, what are the gaps that are causing harm and are keeping our effectiveness and our efficiencies at a lower level than we would want and a lower level than the people of South Africa would want. And I'm sure you saw at the beginning of the summit that people who got interviewed, they were saying different things about us and telling us how they view policing and all of that. So we came here to say, there are gaps here, there are weaknesses here, there are certain things that we may need to drop altogether, there are certain things that we may need to usher in altogether going forward. That's exactly what we came here for as the second element. And to those gaps, to those difficulties and challenges and so on in our policing system currently, we were very determined to provide solutions to them. We didn't just list them and left them there. We discussed them and said, here and there, these are possible solutions. And the third element that we covered was imagining the future needs in terms of the type of policing that South Africa wants. So as we were discussing, assessing and providing solutions, we were at the same time looking at the future. We have 2030, in front of us, but we also have beyond 2030. And that is what we're beginning to look at, starting with the workshop that we held in February, a 3-day workshop, and ending today, and putting everything together. So in my view, we were dealing or covering all these 3 elements. But we went further, and through that workshop in particular that we held in February, we factored in or accommodated the human factor that Pope Crew was mentioning here, saying that it doesn't matter, you can have artificial intelligence and so on, technology, but you need human beings. We factored it in. As early as February, by holding a 3-day workshop, just focusing on what do we do, what are we doing with personnel or within the South African Police Service? How do they feel? And part of it we got through the survey that was presented here, how the members feel about umqashi, the employer, and how they would want the employer to turn things around and then behave towards what they were saying, where improvement is needed. So we planned this so that we don't hold a summit and plan and discuss the way ahead, but leaving the members behind and leaving them probably unhappy about some of the aspects. We sought to leave them, pull them in, and so that they are in the house, so that we move together. Now, there are a number of resolutions that were taken in that workshop, and they were presented here, but I don't believe that we have the full grasp for them, especially on the implementation side. I know we like them because they are good. If there is something that was done and done to be good, completed to be good, it was this. We may not have completed everything that requires to be done, but what we did is actually good, and it takes the positive direction that it should take in relation to what must happen within SAPS. Everybody, when they make examples, I mean, to be a constable beyond 14 years, that's quite a sizable time of your life that you spend, but you are doing a sergeant and all of that. So the emphasis is that we need to find a way, and ways and means were mentioned here. That's exactly what we need to go out and do, because the workshop and this summit, which is endorsing those outcomes of the workshop, is saying we need to do. We know we find happiness elsewhere, but we're spending too much time of our lives here as SAPS, and therefore we must find some of our happiness here while we are working. We can't wait until we go back and retire and then we say, sawubona happiness. It will be too late. We have to find it here, and ways and means must be found here, so that while we carry South Africa as our mandate, but South Africa must carry us to an extent so that we carry each other. Now, so we factored that in. Now, I know there are some of the things that we came out with on employee health and wellness, things that are practical. I know that there are even some decisions that have been taken by SSBC, PSCPC, in relation to putting in some money in the pocket, that 5.5% some money in the detectives' pockets, which has not been there as a result of some of the assessments that have been made by management and all of us discussing adjusting CPI, house allowance. I really want houses for police. I passionately want that because I know some of you, not because you are irresponsible, but because you don't see while you have energy, the importance of having a home of your own. And let alone whether you have a family or not, that is yours. But for you, yourself, to say when you retire, I don't want to say when you resign because I don't want people to resign. I'm saying when you retire, to have a house of your own. A house. So that you tell people there that this house is because I was a police officer. That's how I came to own the house. You can't retire and then disappear without a home. So we want that, and National Commissioner and management will deliver on this because we're going to be putting a lot of pressure on them until this is delivered. We really want that. So these are some of the things that we were talking about in the workshop. At this stage, and for purposes of this summit, I want to appeal to the National Commissioner and to all of us, provincial commissioners, district commissioners, to really lift the police station, elevate it. Let's elevate the police station. And if I can talk directly to Deputy National Commissioner Musikidi, just make it your duty to elevate the police station through a lot of manner of things, all manner of things. Quite a number of police stations really don't represent us. They don't. And they discourage police and not at all inspiring. When you get to a place of work at the police station, it mustn't differ too much from where we work at national office ourselves. There mustn't be too much of a difference. It mustn't be. When you get to a police station, you mustn't feel like, hey, when will I leave this place? The difference mustn't be too big if there is a difference at all. Now, I always make an example. I have some places where I come from. And DM Matale has a place where he comes from, and Boshielo. And yourselves, DNCs and other police officers. It doesn't look good that the police station of your area where you come from in the first place doesn't show whatsoever that there is a high-ranking police officer at head office, but the police station here is something else. It doesn't look good. It's a contradiction. Where do you think, what do you think people will say about you as a person? And through you, what will they say about police, all of us combined? So much as I'm not saying we must work for places where we come from, but they are a living example of what you are doing elsewhere. If the police station where you come from, or police stations where you come from, is shameful, people will say this is what you are doing where you are. This is the shame that what we see here, this is what this fellow is doing there. So we can't afford that. We can't afford that. So please lift it, elevate the police station, elevate functionality. There are resolutions that have been taken about functionality of the police station, especially on the approach on policing on the ground. It's very important. Now, we have always maintained a stance as leadership of police that we understand when people are complaining about us as corrupt, when they actually mean some of us. But I'm yet to come across a person who will say police officer so-and-so is corrupt. They don't say so, they say police are corrupt. And therefore, there is no way we can ignore it or run away from it. So in this summit, you are being discouraged from what you are doing, which you know is corrupt. Whether you are able to define it or not, Diembo Shelo was telling me that the commission spent some time trying to define corruption. Don't waste time defining corruption. Corruption is corruption, you know it. Whether you define it or you don't define it, you know it. So let's discourage ourselves from that, because that's what people don't want to see us corrupt. They want us to pay standard. They even want us to arrest them when they are corrupt. That is why even us, we go out of our way and arrest those of us who fall and become corrupt. But of course, the big question is this: do we have capacity and energy to implement the outcomes? There's a buzz out there that says that it's a talk shop. We will see. There have been other workshops that have been held or summits or whatever. How is this one different? And we have a reason to say this one is different if we are likened to any other thing that has been done. General as government, we are known to like gatherings like this, but we don't similarly like implementing what we would have spoken about. And therefore, we must police ourselves as far as implementation is concerned of all the outcomes. We are police, so let's police the outcomes and make sure that we implement them. I am full of hope and inspiration that the summit has served as a refresher. Just to go out of your usual place. I don't want to say your home, because we like our homes. For those who work and are staying in their homes. Tinagate Sahamba, we have long been out of home. But just to be out from there and come and be in a hotel for 3 days and see other people that you know, some of them a long time, and have a chat and remind each other of those with the little time that you might have had. It helps. It lifts you up in a way. It makes you look forward to going back and start working again. And therefore, it becomes a break of its own. And therefore, we hope that it achieves its purpose, and that when we go out of here, we are better people, individually and as a collective. We want to be of help to each other and lift this organization up and make it a better organization. Now, our solemn duty as police is to serve the citizens of this country by ensuring that they feel safe each day, and we are also called upon to deliver justice and fairness. Criminals in this country, with its environment and root causes and all of that, they know one thing. They know selfishness. Go out there, serve your interest, chase your interest as an individual. Let me murder people for my interest. Let me steal a vehicle. Let me get involved in CIT. All the things that criminals do. But we here as police, we work for the common good. We serve the public. We are not serving ourselves. And that is important. So it's not ours to, we will note the root causes of criminality. and sympathize with criminals. Uthi, "Nkosi yami, they are victims of this and that, as we arrest them, as we deal with them. As we deal with them. There is no mercy. We are not going to show mercy to criminals and say because and because. You commit crime, we arrest. Whether you are poor or you are rich, we arrest. That's our duty. So, we pursue public interest, and we have legitimacy to do that, and we have a mandate to do that. We're the only people who are mandated to arrest and confine people, whatever type of a criminal. We are mandated to do that. Nurses are mandated to put bandages on them and give them more health when they get injured. That's not our job. Our job is to injure them. If they resist. That's our job, if they resist. So I was saying to National Commissioner, that thing that you kept reading here, telling the summit about the incident, is exactly what we are here for, to do that. So, we will pursue them. Now, our top priorities, please get us clear. We've synergized this with management. Let's go there and reduce murder. I'm no longer talking about crime general. I'm talking about murder specifically. The country can't go on and on being characterized by high murder rate. We're expected to go out there, fight murder, reduce murder. Remarkable. We are expected to remove unnecessary firearms from our communities. There are too many firearms. Even some of them are legal, some of them are illegal. With the regulations published now, we are beginning to bring about some order, some control, even on legal firearms. And I'm glad that some of the three biggest companies, private companies, are positive on the regulations. There are those who are TikToking and all of that. We'll engage all of them. But just to get an indication that three very big private companies, security companies, are welcoming and are positive on the regulations, it's a good omen. So that is how we're going to move on. But what we're going to be doing is to close all the loopholes. We've identified them. All the loopholes that make too many firearms available out there. What do you do with your firearms if you have 8 firearms when you die? What happened to those? And so on. We're closing all those loopholes. What must happen? And all of that. So, but the illegal firearms are a hazard. They kill women, they kill children, they kill police, they kill everybody. So we just must remove them with agents, these illegal firearms. And thirdly, remove drugs. We need to go and remove drugs. So when you see Standard in the recent achievement there of police dealing with drugs there, even underground drugs, MEC, Pumalang. It's on course. It means we are on course. We need to go and remove others as well. And then fight GBVNF. So these 4 sins in the country, they're the ones that are painting the landscape of criminality in South Africa very bad. And we're under pressure to do better there. But the next package of crimes that we want to focus on is this cash on transit. And I do want to mention that some of this cash in transit, like we discussed last time, Mr. Wright, they are work from inside. Like it happened in the Eastern Cape, when somebody took a day off in one of the companies in Johannesburg, just to go to Eastern Cape and commit cash in transit. And unfortunately for him, he got caught. And we got to know the facts, a fact that this was internal, this was organized inside. So we'll continue to engage the private sector and to come up with more stringent ways of looking after cash. But it does show that this is on the increase in the last few weeks and something must happen. But I'm mentioning it because we're getting worried about it, kidnappings and extortions, and then stock theft. That is the second batch of these crimes that are worrying us. So we must go out there and find them. We have discussed at length some of the enablers that we need. We've been discussing those, they came out clearly today, technology. In our commission, there's somebody who stood up just to plead with us to invest in technology, and we agreed with them. It's important that we do so. Capacity of upskilling and assisting detectives, revitalization and expansion of forensic services and all of that. All of these matters are enablers and the better environment inside. Now, I do want to say the budget is quite constraining for us to achieve all these things that we want to achieve. But want to try and go out of our way through partnerships and other means to see us making strides in implementing this. We're not going to sit and say there's no money, because people don't understand when we talk like that. Nobody understands us. Even our colleagues in cabinet, they don't understand us. They know we don't have a lot of money, but they expect us to be flying all over, chasing criminals and all of that. Even the Minister of Finance, National Commissioner, I receive calls from him complaining about crime in one of his properties. So I then phone Eastern Cape Rush because I want him to know we're working and give us more money. To say, hey, Minister of Finance is complaining about crime somewhere that side. Please go there and so on, because we want money. So we won't allow the budget factor to be a hindrance to arrest us into doing nothing. We won't do that. We're going to be moving around and trying. And I'm happy that CFO Timpane is here. She's here wearing very colorfully, showing that she's happy about everything that she hears here. And she's going to go back to the office and make sure that we move on. Now, tomorrow we have agreed with management that we will go to a press briefing, ministry and management, to provide a broad summary of what we were doing in the last 3 days. We felt we shouldn't just make a statement. We should go and really almost make a presentation to the media so that people can get easy answers in terms of what we've been doing for the last 3 days, sitting here and so on. So there will be a presentation to the media. We will just, in the ministry, just provide a short overview, and then we do present a summary of what, along the lines that Dr. Swart was doing here earlier on, so that people can understand what's happening. Now, in the commission that I was in, National Commissioner, we said there is no more anyone who is going to be recruited without a driver's license. So if you want to be a policeman or policewoman, you will have to have a license. How you get it? If what? You will do like they do in all professions. How do people become lawyers? How do they become medical doctors? This is a profession. This is a profession. It has integrity, and we must build the integrity. So you can't just walk without a license. How are you going to do work in the first place? We don't have time. Police is not a school for drivers, for driving. You are provided with training as a policeman and woman, not to get a license. So it would have been decided some time ago it was fine, but this is 2025. And then you are not going to get here without matric. It's not going to happen. Those who came and then they started inside, good luck, but no more. So you've got to put your matric here, then we take you in. Because we need to enhance the integrity and all other challenges going forward. So expect a range of challenges. We will want those who will be presenting to summarize some of these new things that are coming in, so that we demonstrate that there are changes that we are bringing here. And finally, if we can't remove all these things that I'm saying we must remove, all these crimes that we must remove, let us go out there and remove the criminals themselves. Thank you very much.
Another round of applause, please, for Minister. Thank you very much. Minister, I think as you would have gathered by now that I like to prepare a nice closing comment, but after that address by the National Commissioner and the Minister, I submit. I can't say anything else. It said it all. But maybe we can just close with one quotation by Mahatma Gandhi that said, "The measure of a civilization is how it treats its most vulnerable." So the application for us means that the measure of the SAPS and its services is how it protects the weakest of society. So when we were at the HR conference, the minister indicated to all the external role players and stakeholders that were with us, the minister said, "You are not going anywhere," something to that effect, meaning that we cannot do this alone. We want you, and we are very pleased that a lot of them are still here with us, including Obesity Must Fall. I saw him somewhere here. And so I thought, what better way of us closing this summit than all of us making a public declaration before we leave. And we'll do it as follows. If you would please join me to stand. You're not going to join hands and do "we are one" and all of those things. But Minister, and I thank you for permission you have granted me in advance for us to do this. And we want to make a joint declaration today. All of us that are here have not just come here by chance, but you have been appointed to come here from wherever you've been, from whichever institution you belong to. So as a collective, we want you to say this, and this is on YouTube and wherever. South Africans need to know that we as the South African Police Service and all partners are going to make this declaration. And so I'm going to say the statement and you'll repeat after me, please. Number one is, we commit to serve with integrity. We commit to lead with accountability. And we commit to build a safer South Africa. Minister, the summit may come to an end today, but our mission continues. So let us rise together and let's do this. Please travel safely and God bless you. You may give me a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you very much, Minister. Let's just take a seat for a second. We're going to allow the Honorable Minister, the Deputy Minister and the MEC, the National Commissioner and the senior delegation to leave the auditorium. So let's just stand, please, as they would make their departure. Thank you very much. Can we please stand? Thank you.
One, two. Sure. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. One, two. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. One, two. Yo, yo. Yeah. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.